My dad had once told me I had my mother's blue eyes. He said they were bluer than the sky and deeper than the sea. I'd always wanted the hazel eyes my dad and Cole shared, simply because they looked so much alike. There wasn't anything about me that looked like either of them. Mrs. Jolene made homemade waffles with her special strawberry glaze. You'll love it. It's Saxon's favorite breakfast, she told me, and patted my arm. Let's go get you fed. I followed her toward the kitchen as she continued to talk about the different milk options and the juice selection. Breakfast wasn't something I was used to unless it was cold Pop-Tarts and a glass of water before I hurried to catch the bus. Oh, good, she said, as we entered the spacious white kitchen. Saxon, you're eating in the house this morning. Melanie moved to the side of the island, and when she did, the guy standing there studied me. I, in return, did the same to him. He was tall, at least 6 foot, if not more, with broad shoulders and dark brown hair that held the slightest bit of curl. His brown eyes were set off by his thick, dark lashes. They would almost seem feminine if not for his chiseled jawline and the small scar on his left cheek. When the corner of his mouth lifted just barely enough to form a smile, I noticed the hint of dimples. Madeline, this is my son, Saxon, she said before looking at him. Saxon, dear, this is Madeline. She turned back to me. He gets up early to go out to the stables. Racehorses are what the Houston men eat, sleep, and breathe. You'll find that it takes over every part of our lives here. Saxon kept his gaze locked on me as he finished the glass of milk in front of him. I had been too tired yesterday after our flight from Dallas, Texas to Ocala, Florida, to stay up and meet the family for dinner. Instead, I'd taken a shower and gone to sleep. Although Melanie had told me all about Saxon during our flight, he was her only child, my age. He had been the all-star high school quarterback his senior year and worked with his father, raising and training racehorses here on their 500-acre ranch, even though he had been offered several football scholarships. Kenneth, Melanie's husband, had been born into a racing family, and Moses Mile Farm had been in his family for over 80 years. You left out a few details, he said to his mother, raising one eyebrow at her, then smirking. When his gaze swung back to me, he asked me, You ever ride a horse? I shook my head. But you're from Texas. He stated the obvious while looking confused, as if being from Texas meant we all had our own horses and rode them around for transportation. And yet I'm not a cowgirl, go figure, I replied. He laughed, and both dimples were out in full force. I've got to get back out there before Dad realizes I snuck inside for a second breakfast. Joe didn't make this out at the barn kitchen. He nodded his head toward the back door. The waffles are delicious. Trust me, he added. When you're done, you can head out to the stables. I'll show you around. I wasn't sure how I felt about horses or going out to the stables, but what else was I supposed to do with my day? I simply nodded, and he turned and exited out the door in the far right corner of the kitchen. He grew up on horses. He forgot that there is a life outside racehorses, she said as she walked over to the kitchen cabinet and began getting me a plate. We aren't formal around here for breakfast. Mrs. Jolene, who Saxon has been calling Joe since he could talk, cooks breakfast for the ranch hands early every morning and then comes in to make sure we have a hot breakfast before returning to clean up the workers' breakfast. Kenneth always eats with the hands. Saxon eats in here the days he has classes, but he's not taking any classes this summer semester. Which reminds me, we need to talk about college. If you want to attend locally, we need to get you registered for the fall term. Anyway, Mrs. Jolene will always have food to eat in the house. You just come in and make yourself at home. She paused. I want you to feel at home here. I truly do. Thank you, I replied, although I didn't see that ever happening, but Melanie was trying her best to make it so. After breakfast, go on out to the stables and find Saxon. He can give you a tour and then show you some things you can do.